Howdy folks, Spencer here with the stats breakdown for the Aetherian Salvation Intel Battlecruiser. As always, chapters to each section are listed down below. The Salvation is an Infinity Lockbox ship dropping on PC today, December 9th of 2025. No console release date is listed, but if we look back to prior ships that dropped in December on PC, such as the Obina in 2024, that ended up going live on console about 6 weeks later. So a mid to late January release for console is quite likely. Now, being a lockbox ship, that means that the Aetherian Salvation is a very expensive single character unlock, but being a 2025 release, you will be able to get it from the 2026 event campaign if you don't want to gamble or pay for it. Jumping into the stats, this is an Intel battlecruiser with a hull modifier of 1.5, shield mod of 1.3, a 4-4 weapons layout that supports dual cannons, then you have 4 device slots, and console-wise 3 TAC, 5 Eng, and 3 Psi. And jumping down to mobility, this has a base turn rate of 5.5, which happens to be the lowest for any battlecruiser in the game. However, it does have a really good impulse mod of 0.18 and an inertia rating of 65, so this is going to be a bit different than many of the other battlecruisers in the game. They're trying something different here, so we'll see how people like it. And jumping down to some of the other built-in features of the ship, for the power bonus, plus 10 to weapons and aux power. Like I mentioned earlier, it can equip dual cannons. Being an Intel ship, it does have the Gather Intel ship mechanic, and for the cruiser commands, you've got the strategic maneuvering, shield frequency modulation, and weapon system efficiency options. And then for the mastery package, being a battlecruiser, this has the plus physical and kinetic damage resistance in the first tier. Then you have plus crit severity for weapons in the second tier, plus energy damage resistance in the third, and at tier 4 mastery, plus max HP. And for the bridge officer layout, this has a Commander Engineer with Intel, Lieutenant Commander Universal with Temporal Operative, Lieutenant Commander Science, Lieutenant TAC, and an Ensign Engineer. At the end of the day, this is very similar to the Legendary Ambassador. You're losing the Ensign Universal the Ambassador has, and you're picking up an Ensign Engineer instead, with the only gain being the ability to use dual cannons. Now, the Intel and Temporal combination is really popular right now for the unconventional systems meta, but also for those of you wanting to do Surgical Strikes 3 with Recursive Shearing 1 on the build. But in either case, I don't believe the Salvation is worth going for. We have some very solid Zen ships with that combination, like the Ark Royal and Chekhov. Yes, they're both science ships, but you can still do a weapons-focused build on them. And if you're looking for a very strong surgical recursive platform and you have lockbox tier money, the Kith Intel Warbird is also in the Infinity Lockbox, and that is a proper 5-2 TAC focused ship that will offer quite a bit more for that playstyle. But while the ship itself doesn't impress me stats-wise, the accessories do actually look quite appealing, enough that I'm going to pick one of these up to test it out, so let's go take a look. Okay, here we go, and thank you to Sora for getting me this ship box the other day. And here we have the ship, so let me go in and upgrade that quick. So you can see, by default, the ship comes equipped with the Aetherian proton weapons. The other Aetherian ship that they released a while back, the Revelation, I think it was, that also had these weapons on them, but they are not upgradable. And here it is in the Tailor. I really do like how the ship looks here. Sort of gives me like a base star style vibe. I know it's a little bit different than how those are, but it just gives me that vibe. I really like the colors you see there in the reflection. Okay, and size-wise, this thing is a bit wider than a scimitar. Yeah, so I understand why the turn rate on this thing is a little bit lower, because this is a pretty big ship. And for those of you looking for the Admiralty info, 61 Eng, 33 TAC, and 33 Psi, and it ignores plus or minus science from events. The Starship trait is Etheric Matter Manipulation. Every time you activate a Captain ability, you will gain a stack of this trait for 30 seconds. You may have up to 10 stacks, with each new stack refreshing the duration of all existing stacks. So with each stack, you're getting plus 2.5% Cat 1 damage for exotic damage abilities, plus 15 Starship EPG skill, plus 15 Control X skill, and plus 15 Drain X skill. So multiply that by 10, and at max stacks, you're looking at 25% Cat 1 for exotic damage, 150 EPG skill, 150 Control X, and 150 Drain X. I think for science builds, this is probably going to be a must-slot trait. Okay, I've got the trait slotted, and now to demo how this works, I'm going to have DOC over at the top right so you can look at the damage numbers, and up until I activate like Alpha and go down fighting, the only damage buff that should be getting should be from this trait. And I'll also look at my science skill stats here, just so you can see that the numbers are increasing. Now, I'm not on a science-focused setup, but this is just to show you how this trait is working. So here goes Tack Initiative. That is 1 stack of the trait. Now here is a Brace for Impact, which should work for this, being a captain ability. That did indeed work. Evasive should also work. And as I go in and hit some of my other abilities here, these may start to actually buff up the damage on their own. Okay, so Tack Fleet certainly will. Yeah, there you go. You can already see I'm at 6 stacks, and I'm up to 7. Yeah. So I think for science players, especially given that this is working with like Evasive and Brace for Impact, that is going to make this a very, very desirable trait for the science playstyle. And lasting for 30 seconds with each new stack refreshing the duration of all stacks, that's pretty damn good. And the universal console here is the Pentachoric Emitter. For the passive, this is a buff to Starship hull capacity, hull restoration, shield capacity, and shield hardness, and the buff is going to be equal to 15% of your EPG skill, or plus 15, whichever is greater. Being able to scale that up is cool. It's not an enormous buff, but still decent. I could see some side tank players really enjoying that. As for the clicky, it's up for 30 seconds, and will take 15% of your outgoing direct energy weapon damage, and deal that to up to 10 targets in a 5km radius around you. So this is like an Agony Redistributor that is up the full duration and constantly damaging the foes around you. The more energy damage you do, the more you should be getting out of this. And to test this out, I am in my favorite map, Infected, and we're going to see how it goes. So I'm doing this as a live recording, so not going to be too much commentary over the run, but there will be commentary when I'm looking at the results afterwards. Okay, here we go.
Scanning the nanite trench. Got it. Additional data is available.
Not the best start, but I'm a little bit rusty.
The nanite probe to repair the trench. Stop that.
I've not really been doing this much for a couple weeks. Oh well, that's good enough of a test to get an idea on what that was doing. Not the best flying on my part, but I'm rusty and I'm trying to get this done quickly, so it is what it is. Okay, so the Pentachoric Emitter, not like an insane amount of damage, but still 63k about right there. Like that's pretty good. Like I have a lot of weapon damage on here, but the thing with the modern meta builds is a lot of their damage comes from these universal consoles. So for me, not having everything focused on weapons, like that is actually pretty good. So I think for any of you doing weapons heavy setups, that is a console that's going to be of great interest to you, especially in environments where you quite often have a lot of enemies within 5 kilometers of you. And also, just to clarify, this is doing damage every second that it's active. If I look at the combat log file here, like I can see I did some energy weapon damage, and then immediately I can see there's Pentachoric again, and I can just keep going through here and seeing, you know, that right after I'm doing damage with other energy weapon sources, it's going in and doing some damage. So yeah, I'm seeing it every 10th of a second here. So that's really good. That's really good. So it's consistently doing damage after you do damage. It's not banking it up like Agony Redistributor. It's just immediately going out and doing what it's advertised to do. Which is why you also see that it has quite a few attacks here. So in total, I had 1,021 attacks with my dual ultimate plasma cannons. I did also have a Terran weapon on. So I had quite a few various energy weapons on that were working with this. And you can see it has a lot more attacks than anything else individually on this combat log. Overall, the star of the show are the accessories. The trait will be very popular for science players, and the console has potential for energy weapon setups. But for the console, I do advise you wait for further testing. The result I had in that one run was good, but that was one run. Give it a few days for myself and others to test it before you go out and drop that sort of cash on it. Now, as for the ship, I really like the visual of it, but when we get to the stats, there's nothing really that special about the stats of this ship. You can make it work, but there's platforms out there at the same price point or even cheaper like the Ark Royal that are going to be able to do most of what this ship can do, but better. But that's all I have for you guys, so I'll let the rest of this Argala play out, but let me know what you guys think of this ship and the accessories down below, and as always, thank you to all channel members and viewers for the continued support. See you all around.
Sensors are picking up small habitations in some of the asteroid, possibly consistent with mold holes, temporary hideouts. We do what we want, where we want. Picked up a tight beam transmission on a new frequency. We're jamming that spectrum of their comms now, but it was probably a call for assistance.